this one? Oh, blast from the past, a few goodbyes, but a really good end to the series. Please enjoy the very last episode of Bright Club Revisited.
Nick's first show. Every time I think of his first joke, I'm not sure what's funnier, the actual joke or the audience's incredibly awkward reaction to it.
By the way, Jess, you are still behind James Dyke in views by 90. But the top video is the one that's Bright Club Comes to Southampton. Then it's James, and then it's you.
The number 3. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Hello, my name is Nikhil, and I definitely don't study fashion.
This is so cringe watching this.
Calm down. Comedy. We're all here.
That's the book.
The book.
Comedy book.
An Indian banana walks into a doctor's surgery. I'm not feeling too well. Impressions. My name is Michael Caine. Not a lot of people know that. Okay, I'm glad that's over. Sometimes my accent goes back to the motherland. Leicester. It's bacon, Dave.
You hit them with the mic.
Nice to meet you. Let's give it up for the guys before. You all had fun? All good? Yeah, entertained? That's all gonna end now. So not all of us have done stand-up before, so actually here with all the lights, I kind of feel like it's stars in their eyes. Anyway, tonight, Matthew, I'm gonna be a comedian, man, dressed as a mint ice cream and chocolate flake. That's racist, stop it. No, it's pretty cool to be here. I do a lot of public engagement other to this, and a lot of it's with children because they're very keen, very impressionable, and they'll do almost anything you want. Now, by anything you want, I'm not referring to Operation U-Tree, by the way. I do have a security clearance. Put your phones down, don't worry. For example, before I did my degree, I was a tennis coach for children, and I used to find funny ways that I could get them to just do anything stupid. So I used to say, right, let's start by warming up our hands. Let's put them up and down. So they'd start doing this. Okay, let's warm up our necks. Move your heads backwards and forwards. Come on. Okay, let's warm up our legs and run around. And they start running around like this. My coach looks at me, half laughing, because he loves it, other half saying, can we get on with the work? So it's great. Now, I'm a first-year PhD student, all glossy-eyed and eager to save the world with my work. Now, I'm mostly doing a PhD for vanity reasons. And that's because, if you haven't seen on the bill before, my surname is Mistry. So can anyone guess what my name will be once I graduate? Oh no, it's Dr. Mistry. What will he do next? I don't know, but it'll appropriately remain a mystery. However, if I do want to perform any villainous acts, I will have to file for ethical approval. Now, this could reveal my plans and eliminate any sense of surprise or mystery that I do wish or wish not to intend. So maybe the villain industry isn't for me. Now, fortunately, I study bubbles. Okay, no laughter, great. Because bubbles are very serious things. Thank you very much. And actually, I study their interaction underwater with sound fields. Now, they do some very extraordinary things, and we can use this to our benefit. For example, you may have seen the video with David Attenborough on Blue Planet, I believe it is, where a gam, a collective noun for whales, a gam of humpback whales is hunting herring. And what you have is one that swims around the school of herring, and spews out columns of bubbles. And that produces a bubble net around them. Another one sends out a very distressing hunting call into that cloud of bubbles. And then the rest of them are swimming underneath, rising them up to the surface. Now, the bubbles have a very interesting way of reacting with or interacting with certain sounds, such that in this case, it traps the sound within the bubble net. Now, normally fish don't have trouble swimming through bubbles. So what happens in this case is they swim to the wall and they're confronted with this really loud sound. They get startled, and as a protective measure, they school together. And in this case, it works against them, because now the whales can come up underneath with their mouths open and gobble them up, and they can catch tons of fish a day doing this. Now, this has inspired civil engineering, because we can now use this to protect distant marine life from construction noise. So you can have a pile driver which sends a long column into the seafloor, and we can have that bubble net around it to stop the sound from propagating far away and disturbing, let's say, a mother and her calf. And it's really cool. So I told my brother this a couple of years back when we were in a swimming pool in Egypt. Being a little kid, he starts swimming around me doing this. Very quickly, I realized what he's doing. So I think, oh shit, here we go. And we're in another country as well, so this is very dodgy. Anyway, he gets behind me and he stops, and I hear, oh shit. Yeah, so I got him out of there sharpish. Now, I said little brother. That was 2 years ago. He's now looking to study medicine in September. Our youth. So my background is acoustical engineering, and no, that's not moving speakers and microphones around. We study the physics of sound and vibration, and we have some very cool facilities here in Southampton. For example, a listening room where you can reproduce any acoustic environment. So you can reproduce the Mayflower Theatre there, and musicians or acts can come in there and practice and realise sort of what it sounds like if they were to go there before actually going there. We also have an anechoic chamber. And what you can do in there is use the walls to absorb sound. And it's really interesting. Even better is a reverberation chamber, which reinforces echoes. And you can get echoes lasting 10 to 14 seconds in there in some circumstances. Now, naturally, the first thing I did when I first came to the department was the following. Now, I was a bit unprepared because I forgot that my phone was in my pocket.
Oh yeah, this was really annoying. I had a video on my phone and then I had to wait for it to load up and stuff. You could keep playing because there was such a long delay in
Just
this.
amuse yourselves for a while.
And I remember we were doing a debrief of this, and I remember talking to Dave about this. He was like, "Oh, you should have had the video prepared."
Music sponsored by Southampton Uni.
I don't remember this at all. I remember a lot of the.
They're laughing at me.
And then it was my nervous, heavy breathing down the microphone as well.
Right, here we go. Gets me, it gets everyone every time.
I love all that preparation for a fart noise. Useful.
The delay wasn't that long. You handled it really well.
If you
Yeah.
would like a performance of that, please call me afterwards. Or not. Anyway, I thought that was great. Walked out of the room laughing. Guess who was outside? The fucking director of the department. I'm a 19-year-old at this point thinking, what the shit? I look at the floor because I have no response. I don't know what to say. He's partly laughing, but he's mostly very, very confused. So I sort of sit there looking like a pleb. Hey there. Walk off straight away, right? 5 years later, he's my supervisor for my PhD. It doesn't get worse than that. Thank you very much. You've been a fantastic audience. I hope you've enjoyed me because I did.
I find that so awkward watching back. In fact, my partner, when we first met, I think we had just done the first show. So when we were talking to each other about getting to know each other, I was like, oh yeah, I'm part of this committee that runs a comedy club, and she was like, do you ever get that feeling if someone tells you they're involved in comedy, you're a bit like, yeah, okay, whatever, that's a bit weird, right? And now she knows me as the person who does all this stuff. Now she's used to it, but even today she'll be like, I can't watch your performance without cringing, even though we're going to get married this year.
You can't delete stuff off the internet.
I know, that's the worst thing, right? You can't even get rid of it, and like there's probably someone out there, like some hacker who's got a copy of everything, and they'll just find you and hold you to ransom as well. They'll be like, give me that money or I'll embarrass you for the rest of your life.
You should just
The FBI definitely have copies. What are you saying, Jess?
Just own it, and I mean, because it'll be in the best man speech, right? It's all material for that.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know. With Corona, it's gonna be a very weird wedding. It's gonna be like 6 of us so far. That's the plan. So it's just gonna be really in a massive barn in the middle of Romsey. I don't know what's gonna go on.
When is it planned for?
1st of August.
Oh, soon.
Might be all right.
Yeah, I guess we don't have to pay for all the other stuff that you usually do in a wedding. Although now we're going to do that next year, so it just delays the expense by a year. But yeah, it's a crazy time, and yeah, it's quite funny. If we think about how long we've been together, I always mark it by I started Bright Club around when I met you, because we'd done it the July, like 2 months before I met Kat. So.
Amazing. Bright Club is everywhere. Resonates with everyone. This is the beauty of Bright Club.
Oh my God. You could have all the times before Bright Club as BBC before Bright Club.
Overthrow the real BBC. Do it.
The storm has come to Wales. Like, oh my God, there is rain happening right now. I was just suddenly like, what is going on?
Actually, to be fair, when we were watching the video, your background went a little dark, and I was wondering if that was like the storm.
I just opened the window a little bit now, but yeah, wow, a lot of rain.
Oh, crazy. Are there any other memories from the first show then, as we go away from the first show? Any other cool?
Panic, constant panic.
Yeah, so much panic.
Panic that no one was going to turn up. Panic that the filming wasn't going to work, that the tech wasn't going to work, that people were going to chicken out at the last minute. Mostly no one was going to turn up.
Yeah, that's always been the fear. Like that panic never goes away in any show. Before every show, until I've seen how many people are sat down.
Yeah.
Constantly like, oh no, what if we don't get enough?
Did you used to get a lot of people buy tickets beforehand, or no? Just
so we would put a number of tickets on the website, on the Eventbrite webpage, and we'd put maybe 60 or something, because that way you could keep track of at least 60 people were going to come.
Yeah.
Because you'd literally have proof that these people have paid for it, and then the rest we'd be like, oh, they're just bonus people who come by foot or have, so you put some on the website so you could track how many people were definitely coming.
So you can better and more calm about it.
Yeah, and it does this massive. I remember that first show. It didn't sell for weeks.
Inside your offices being like, why did we do this?
Yeah, well, we were like, oh, we're gonna have to do loads more promo and send out flyers and stuff. And then 2 weeks before, a few more sold, and we were like, oh, okay. And then literally the day before, it was just loads of people. It sold out, and people were emailing us saying, "How can we get in?" And we were like, "Well, you can pay at the door. Don't worry." But it was that was mad.
It was packed as well, wasn't it? People were sitting in old bits of bar that were no longer working and crammed in corners. I remember in the boulangerie venue when we were there, sometimes you'd have people sat on the stairs up to the enough seats, and I don't think there was a single show that didn't feel like it was absolutely.
Yeah.
So Sadie, were you saying that your set yesterday was the first one you'd ever done in terms of stand-up comedy?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and then I just absolutely loved it, and I did a few more. Then the thing with the Talent Factory was there was an audition type thing for it, well, not like an audition, but you got to go to London and do their science show off. So I did that, and then Dave kind of encouraged me to apply for the Talent Factory. But yeah, I think the guy, Steve Cross, would have watched my YouTube clip from Bright Club before he decided if I become part of the crew. So obviously it was very, it was great. And I'm so glad that I drank that hot chocolate and said yes, I guess. There was no one at Research Cafe to talk to me about my research. Dave.
It could be another motivational poster. Always drink the hot chocolate.
Yeah, always.
And
know where
I
it all
hope you
leads.
enjoyed it because I did. I like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I like that. Is.
You're
That is
such a
confident.
mood. Like
Huh?
the way you held the mic, you look so relaxed, Nikhil, and also you, Sadie, as well. Whereas I'm like gripping onto it for dear life.
Oh yeah, but you still like put on a great show.
Yeah.
It
I think I
flowed.
totally understand where you guys are coming from. Once you hit the stage, and even if you're nervous, you kind of just keep going, and yeah, you feed from the audience's reactions, and even if they're bad reactions, you can still kind of turn them around. Because you were saying the pause in your set, Nikhil, was kind of long, but I think you had like watching it from somebody obviously who's not experiencing it. Because if that was me, I'd be like crying. But yeah, like when I watch it like that, I don't seem like it's a really long pause. For me, it was just like you were playing with it, and I thought it was actually part of the set. I thought that's what you're doing.
Their things on their hand, but I had mine on the floor and like a big piece of paper. That's why on my set I kept looking at the floor all the time because I was so worried that I was gonna just forget like what I was supposed to be talking about and just freeze, which is weird because obviously my job to talk like in front of people, but it is different when you're trying to make people laugh.
Yeah.
People paid money.
Yeah. But one thing we used to stress to people when we ran workshops was don't stick religiously to your order or your set. Like, don't dwell. If you've missed a joke, don't dwell on that in your set. Just keep moving on because that actually has more of a detrimental effect on your set afterwards.
And the audience wouldn't know, will they, really?
They have no idea because they don't know what you wrote. Like,
Yeah.
you just make up another joke later on. That's all it is. Yeah.
Like, addictive. You get addicted to it.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of a bug. I mean, I was happy to be part of Bright Club because then, and Dave hates this, right? Dave properly cringes at this. I put on like the worst dad jokes at the beginning of each show, right?
You're
but
like compare or like the warm up.
Yeah, I'll be like, welcome to Bright Club. You know, thanks for everyone coming again. Your host today is this. These are the kind of people you got on. But when I'd be like, welcome, I'd make a joke, you know, like, what was one? Oh, I was like, oh yeah, welcome to Boulangerie Victor Hugo. You know, there's food from all around, you know, France here. Actually, I had some foreign food yesterday. Yeah, I had some Moroccan food, and today I falafel. You know, it's a really bad joke. It's a pun on feel awful, right? Literally, your silence explains it. But people laugh there because they paid to be at a comedy show, and they all do that. That sigh.
Yeah.
It's great. It works. The pun works. But I did that because I was trying to create a stupid atmosphere. So like people were like, totally like, and also I was like, if I set the benchmark really low with these crap jokes, then they'll love everyone else's refined written stuff. Well, that's what I tell you.
Really, you were preparing this for weeks.
I was like, I can't wait to say this at the beginning of the show. Yeah, I'd even like, I'll be telling my partner, I'll be like, guess what joke I'm going to tell them next time, and she'll be like, oh shit, like, don't tell me. And if you were to ever speak to Dave would tell you, he'd be like, I could not stand it when Nick told those jokes. I would hide because they're so embarrassing.
Yeah.
But it was fun to do that, and then actually through that kind of stuff, then you know, I think Sadie, you've done a Pint of Science.
Yeah.
And Jess and I have hosted a number of Pint of Sciences, and I don't know about you, Jess, but like I got those gigs by like through Bright Club because people were like, hey, we've seen you through Bright Club, would you like to come and host a Pint of Science? So I've done that for a few years, and that's been really fun. That's given me a taste of like comedic hosting. That's been really good.
Yeah, because you build comedy into that as well. Because Pint of Science is not necessarily comedy; it's more serious, but it's still that same thing of building up that atmosphere and kind of breaking down those. It's interesting how much like so nerdy how much science there is behind hosting a good evening's entertainment and all the stuff that Steve cross-talked us through and the stuff that you pick up. But it's like you have to overcome the barriers to engage with the people around you. So whether it's comedy and laughing or whether it's Pint of Science and it's about taking on board what they're saying and feel like you can ask questions or whatever, you kind of need to, when you go into that environment, everyone's very sort of reserved and like not sure what they can do or say. And so having like compares for Bright Club were absolutely worth their weight in gold because they were professional compers, they knew how to break down those barriers and just make it okay for everyone in the room to laugh and relax. And I guess I feel like maybe we've managed to pick up some of that and definitely try to apply it at things like Pint of Science and other events.
Yeah, having that professional host in the show, in the Bright Clubs, was like so invaluable. And actually, yeah, when I remember when I was hosting Pint of Science, like I would have a notepad that I'd be writing notes down while the speakers were giving their talks, because I would be trying to like think of jokes on the spot, because you'd have a presenter, then you would come on and be like, everyone say thanks to that speaker, your next speaker is this, but you'd have like half a minute to maybe like just make a bit of a joke in between, and it's like you feel like a real comedian. Why aren't I charging to do this? But I remember the first one I did, first Pint of Science I hosted, that dropped like a lead balloon. I was like, I'm never doing this again. It was terrible. It was where was it? It was at some like bowls club somewhere near the hospital, and it was all about nutrition, and it was just full of like middle-aged women who were like not up for a comedy night at all. Honestly, they weren't having any of it. They were just like, I just want to know about nutrition, and I want to know how much it's going to cost me to shop at these stores. And someone was talking about like digestion and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna make a poo joke. Okay. And I started it, and you could they were literally like crossing their arms and shaking their heads. And then I even said out loud, I was like, I've started, so I will finish. But like they were having none of it. And then the three of the speakers, they were I don't know what it was, but they just suddenly took it upon themselves to take over the hosting of the show. Like, yeah, I was like, I made up a thing. I was just like, I'm not feeling really good. I'm gonna go home now. I'll see you later. Yeah, it was crazy. And then the next year they asked me to host it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. But then that year went really, really well. It just so happened that loads of the people that were presenting stuff that I've been involved with before, so it was really easy to like link everything together, because it was all like bubbles and audio and all this other stuff, so it was quite good.
I guess I'll ask why you wanted to get involved in this mini-series, Bright Club Revisited, and I'll just pass it around. We can start with Jess, because she's on my left.
Oh, no. It all started, didn't it, when we had to postpone the science festival?
Oh, yes, that dark day.
It was so... It was 2 weeks before lockdown kicked off, and other things hadn't cancelled by that stage. But actually, I'm really glad that the uni had the foresight to postpone it, because it would have been a nightmare. And so Steve, the head of public engagement, took us all to the bridge at the bar in uni for like hot chocolates to make us feel better. and me and Tina and Sylvia, who runs the festivals, were sat at one end of this long table and just talking about what we could do instead, and came up with all these crazy ideas. Like we had an idea of doing a mastermind with researchers and all sorts. And yeah, that's kind of where the idea came from. And then once you've been part of instigating that idea and encouraging other people to get involved, you kind of feel a bit obliged to get involved.
Nikhil? Also, actually, let me add to that question and say, so what does Bright Club mean to you? Because, yeah, I kind of coerced a lot of you to do it anyway. So that's the answer to that question. But, like, mix the two questions up.
Go on then, Jess. Do you want to answer that second part?
Oh, what does Bright Club mean to me? I think it saved me. I think the end of a PhD, like Sadie said in her set, is quite a dark place. You have daily existential crises. I also had a lot of bullying in my research group. It wasn't good. And to have something so joyous to channel that energy into, because I think you put so much into a PhD, you put the whole of yourself into it, and it absorbs it all, and it's never enough. And so you have to stop at some stage. But to have something else to kind of get involved in, and just the responses that we got, like Nick's been saying and Sadie throughout, was so positive, and that I think kept me going, and I think I wouldn't have made it to the end without it. So that's what it means. Let's all get soppy and cry. It's lockdown. Everyone's in a heightened emotional state.
I told you, Tina, this is what a PhD does to you.
I know. Am I ready? I don't even know. Don't worry. You'll be getting a lot of emails from me. It won't even be Bright Club related. It will be like, what do I do? How did you do it?
Life. Why am I here? Have a biscuit, Tina. It's okay.
Yeah. Chocolate digestive and a cup of tea.
Yeah.
For me, yeah, chocolate digestives are like definitely the best. They're so humble, but like I would argue the humble chocolate. So even a digestive, if you can't find a chocolate digestive, a regular digestive suffices, right? But I think the chocolate's like a little bonus. It's nice and sweet, a bit of melty on it. Right, people are like, oh, I got to have like the latest chocolate chip cookie with upgraded hazelnuts and stuff. Forget that. Get a chocolate digestive. If you're feeling fancy, have a dark chocolate digestive. Right, it does the job, I think. And even when it's like just a bit melted, that chocolate, when you dip it in and then you have it. Oh,
put it with your fingers, which is annoying. You can lick it off, which is okay.
What's that?
The chocolate melts on your fingers.
you got to have like the bit at the top that you can pinch it with, which you don't mind not melting.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I can fit like the whole digestive in my mouth, so I just go like all dunk, put it in and eat, and that's how I can finish like half a pack without even realizing.
Yeah.
I'm just like dunk, eat. Which is why I'm twice the size that I was in the first show of Bright Club, because all I do is dunk chocolate digestives and eat them all day, every day.
So that's what Bright Club means to Nikhil. Sadie?
Tina.
So I chose to do this with you because I think it's really nice. It's really sweet to reflect on what we've achieved. We achieved a lot of things. And like, I mean, not to speak on behalf of Sadie, but the fact that Sadie caught that bug of performing comedy and then having the talent factory, it's really nice to see people who were maybe hesitant at first to then take it on, do it, and then run away with it, like go and do some cool stuff. And we saw that in every single person, irrespective of how hesitant they were at the beginning. We just saw them grow, and then afterwards they were like, oh my god, I want to do this again. Like, I still get people messaging me saying, do you have any opportunities coming around, which is great. So it's really nice to reflect on that, because I guess in academia you probably do a lot of like thankless tasks, like even the PhD, like you feel bad for thanking yourself for getting something done. So it's nice to come back and look at this stuff. And it's a cool way of maybe convincing people who watch this to like restart up Bright Club. If they watch this and they go, hey, that was really cool, why don't we do this again? And hopefully when they can come and speak to us and be like, we want to take this over, then we can help them out. And what does Bright Club mean to me? So you were saying, Jess, it's like an escape because of everything else, and actually, yeah, it was that, and we took it so well and so far because of that. I totally agree with that. Okay, the PhD beat me up, but actually I could escape to this thing. And also with things like imposter syndrome, you don't recognize what you're so good at, or you don't accept it. But then having something like Bright Club really is a tangible success. Like, we were able, and I tell people this who are thinking of doing a PhD, I say, if you find it hard, like really intolerable in the PhD, do not think you have to finish the PhD. Like, there is no shame or harm in walking away and doing something else that makes you happier. Do not think that if you start PhD, it must be finished and people will hate you if you don't. That is not the case. And actually, doing Bright Club made it easier to accept that, because I said, well, if I walk away from my PhD, look at all this other cool stuff I've done. I could probably turn that into a job at some point. I could probably run away with that idea and do that stuff there. And so it was really nice to have this big demonstration of other stuff we can do and achieve and do so well. Like, it was, I think we were very hard working in Bright Club, and we saw the benefits of that, but we're also very lucky that it turned into such an amazing thing. So I think it's kind of like that. bright light amidst everything else. I know we keep starting with sad things and finishing with Bright Club is like our messiah or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, like people still talk about it, and it's 2020, and the first show was 2015, so something good must have happened to have such a legacy.
Sadie?
Well, yeah, so I guess because, yeah, the Bright Club, the first time I ever did it that was like a catalyst for lots of other things, and I think because I guess I was meant to do it in like June or something, but I ended up doing it in May. And that kind of that week that I was actually meant to do this like stand-up comedy set, like the first one of my whole life, like I'd gone through a really bad breakup, and like that week, like my ex had turned up on my door, and it was all really crazy. And I can remember Dave actually emailing me and saying like, you know, you don't have to do it if your head's not in the right place. And I was just like, no, I've worked so hard, and I've got all these jokes, and I've practiced, and it was just like, and then yeah, it's kind of like then actually doing it, and it be giving me such a high, and like all my friends being there and saying, you know, it gone really well. I think that was kind of part of me realizing that if I can do this stand-up comedy thing, which is really scary, like there's that thing I can't do basically. And yeah, and like I said yesterday, I think like just even though I haven't really done many sets like these last 2 years, I have found it really cathartic to write down comedy sets about things, whether it's, you know, my job or just general life, and even if I never present them as like a stand-up comedy set, I've found a way to like laugh at you know, life, and it's just been really, really positive for me. And it started so many things that because I said yes to that, I then was able to say yes to other things that I probably wouldn't have said yes to. So for example, I played roller derby, and one time I was injured, and they asked me, oh, would you like to be the announcer, because you've done comedy, so you'd probably be okay at like improvising stuff. And I don't know a lot of the rules of roller derby, even though I play it. So I was really, again, like, why are they asking me to do this? Because I literally have no idea what's going on, even though I play it. But yeah, that all went fine, because I was just on the mic, just talking a load of nonsense, basically. So yeah, and I wanted to obviously do this revisited thing just for the nostalgia reason, and to see everyone, and also because obviously I'm in Wales with my parents, and it's nice to see some people who aren't my parents.
That's such a big thanks guys for helping out with this. I think for me, the reason why, like Jess said, we thought about it in the bridge and we should have been crying, but instead we were procrastinating and thinking of more ideas. And yeah, I just think it's a really good thing, and it should get more recognition, and it's got a lot of recognition anyway. And it just goes to show that, you know, you're not just your degree, and you're not just academia, and yes, you have PhDs, but it doesn't mean that that's all you're made up of. You can be funny, you can communicate with the community. It just shows putting people together, and that public engagement in a whole is just a great thing. So just bringing it back and having you guys on the call, and Nikhil's idea of having it as a Teams call rather than separate videos, just goes to show how we interact with each other and the importance of that engagement during times like this. So thanks guys for showing up.
Thanks for setting this up.
Well, I'll let you guys go and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you very much, Tina. Thank you for sorting this all out. It's really cool.
No worries, it was really fun. I'll say I didn't hear you.
What did you say, Sadie?
I just said hopefully I'll see you all in real life at some point in Southampton.
Yeah.
Not on a screen.
Yeah.
We can do this. Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.